How does a story unfold where a streetwise kid with academic problems accidentally meets a famous writer and directly inherits his knowledge? Let's take a look at this tale of cross-generational friendship. The film begins with a teenager named Jamal Wallace, a high school student majoring in language and literature. He and his friends are typical teenagers, uninterested in studies and preferring to hang out. Jamal and his friends love playing basketball. In fact, they play for the school team. They practice almost daily at a public court near their home. Because of their daily routine, they notice a mysterious spectator. They realize an old man watches their basketball games every day from an apartment upstairs. They don't know who he is, and in their curiosity, they always discuss the person they call the window at school. Jamal and his friends suspect the old man is a murderer intentionally hiding in his apartment, as none of them have ever actually seen him up close. In a moment of bravado, Jamal's friends dare one of them to climb up to the apartment to meet the old man. Jamal takes the challenge to prove he's brave. One day, Jamal's mother, Joyce, is called in by his homeroom teacher. Joyce is informed that her son's academic evaluation averaged a C, meaning he wasn't doing well enough to graduate. The teacher is puzzled by Jamal's low grades, given that he admires Jamal's good writing. As a literature student, Jamal keeps a diary to pour out his ideas, which could become excellent writing. One night, Jamal and his friends execute their plan to enter the apartment of the window. Jamal climbs the fire escape and successfully enters through an unlocked window, assuming the old man is asleep since the light is off. Jamal's mission is to go in and take a few items as proof that he completed the dare. To Jamal's surprise, the apartment is full of books he had never read, and he is briefly intrigued. However, the old man turns out to be awake, and when Jamal realizes this, he immediately runs away. Unfortunately, Jamal's bag is left behind in the apartment. The next day, Jamal is mocked by his friends because instead of taking items, he left his bag, making them fear his identity might be discovered. During basketball practice that afternoon, Jamal sees a resident arrive in a BMW. Aside from poetry, Jamal is interested in cars, especially BMWs. Initially, the man is wary of Jamal touching his car, but Jamal spontaneously recounts the history of the BMW, making the man secretly impressed by Jamal's extensive knowledge. After talking to the man, Jamal is shocked when his bag is thrown down and returned by the old man from the apartment. At home, Jamal is relieved his belongings are intact. But what surprises him is that his poetry writings have been corrected and marked up by the old man. Some of Jamal's writings are praised, but most are valuable suggestions for improving his writing skills. Another day, Jamal gathers his courage to visit the apartment. He starts by apologizing for his actions that night, but also expresses his desire for the old man to check his other writings. Instead of a warm welcome, Jamal is told to write 5,000 words before coming back. Jamal writes that very night, and another day, following the old man's instructions, he returns with the 5,000-word piece. The old man is surprised Jamal followed the instructions but still tells him to leave. Annoyed, Jamal places his writing outside the door. One day at school, Joyce and Jamal are summoned to the principal's office because of Jamal's unsatisfactory test scores. The principal offers to transfer Jamal to a private school. Joyce is shocked, as she can't afford the tuition. However, a representative from the private school named Bradley informs them that Jamal won't have to pay any fees. Bradley explains the offer is due to their interest in Jamal's basketball skills, mentioning that many of the school's alumni have become professional players. Before going home, Jamal returns to the old man's apartment to see if the man took the writing he left. Seeing that his work was taken, Jamal decides to wait outside, writing. To his surprise, the old man opens the door. Jamal enters, finally meeting the man. While waiting for the old man to mark his work, Jamal reveals who he is. A 16-year-old living with his mother and brother, barely getting by, with an addict father who abandoned the family. After correcting the work, the old man says, "You're young, you're black, and you're spectacular." Jamal starts attending the private school. The environment is clearly very different from his public school. There, he meets Claire, a student assigned by Bradley to show him around. Claire takes Jamal to a literature class where the teacher assigns students to write an essay about a book by a famous author named William Forrester. Jamal is told to come back the next day, but he mentions he'll have a tryout on the basketball court the next morning. The next morning, Jamal has his tryout game. He initially tries to be friendly with a player named John, but John responds snidely. As a result, tension rises on the court, with the two provoking each other several times. Claire comments that John is just a rich kid seeking attention. Jamal realizes he has to take things seriously at this school. Claire, who is also an avid reader, shows Jamal an old book by William Forrester she got from her father. Upon seeing the cover, Jamal is shocked. William Forrester, the famous literary author, looks exactly like the old man. That night, Jamal visits the old man, asking for help with his assignment on one of William Forrester's books. Naturally, Jamal asks directly, "Are you William Forrester, the internationally acclaimed, award-winning novelist?" Initially, Forrester is angry and refuses to talk about himself, but he eventually opens up. However, Forrester demands that Jamal keep their entire relationship a secret from everyone else, including Forrester's help with his writing. Forrester sets a condition. If Jamal wants him to keep giving advice, Jamal must not contradict him or ask about his personal life or family. Jamal agrees. Forrester then teaches Jamal how to write. The first rule to remember is that writing is action, not thought. This means you only need to pour out what you feel in your heart. Writing that comes from the heart will touch the reader's heart. Jamal is astonished. In just 1 minute, Forrester writes effortlessly. Jamal is then asked to write. When he gets stuck, Forrester tells him to start with one paragraph from one of his old works to stimulate his writing. Forrester reminds Jamal that nothing he writes in the apartment should ever leave it. Jamal begins working on his school assignment at home. The next day, the rivalry between Jamal and John on the court is still intense, heating up until the coach punishes them with a shooting duel. Surprisingly, in the duel of 50 shots each, neither of them misses a single shot. After practice, the teacher, Mr. Robert Crawford, calls Jamal over. Robert notes a significant improvement in Jamal's writing and doesn't believe Jamal when he says he wrote the piece just last night. Later, when Jamal tells Forrester about Robert's praise, he senses that the compliment wasn't entirely sincere. Forrester reveals that he knows Robert Crawford, Jamal's teacher. Forrester says Robert wrote a book a year after Forrester's was published, but no publisher would publicize it. Instead of writing another book, Robert became a teacher. Forrester comments that a teacher like that could be either brilliant or the complete opposite. Jamal's writing skill continues to improve dramatically, with Forrester even complimenting him when Jamal successfully transforms one of Forrester's old works into his own style. Jamal asks Forrester if people still read his books. Forrester challenges Jamal to a bet. Another day, Jamal goes to the public library and finds that all copies of Forrester's book are checked out, with a long waiting list. Having lost the bet, Jamal treats Forrester to dinner. Over dinner, Jamal tells him about the writing contest at school, where submissions must be read aloud. Forrester calls the event ridiculous, stating that writers write so others can read their work. He suggests that book events are just for impressing the opposite sex. Forrester then advises Jamal to give Claire, the girl he told Forrester about, an unexpected gift at an unexpected time. Later, Jamal gives Claire a copy of Forrester's book, complete with his signature, easily obtained through his connection. Sometime later at school, Robert tells the headmaster that Jamal is likely plagiarizing his writing. Robert argues that Jamal is just a basketball player who couldn't possibly produce such fine writing. The headmaster points out that Jamal is a skilled player who has won 17 games for the school, but acknowledges he could also be a good writer. Robert seems envious and remains convinced of his suspicion. Robert doesn't know that Jamal is being mentored almost daily by the famous writer, which explains why Jamal's writing style subtly resembles Forrester's, though he isn't plagiarizing the unpublished work. Before leaving, Jamal focuses on a photo album in a room. It contains childhood photos of Forrester and his family. Although Forrester refuses to talk about his personal life, the photos give Jamal a glimpse into his mentor's past. On another day, Jamal takes Forrester out to watch a basketball game. Forrester, who has been antisocial for years, is uneasy in the crowd. Having not left his apartment for years, he's unaccustomed to it. Amid the masses, Forrester gets separated from Jamal and suffers a panic attack. Thankfully, Jamal finds him and takes him away from the crowd. Before going home, with help from his brother, Jamal takes Forrester to a baseball stadium. Forrester used to watch games there with his family, especially his older brother. Jamal surprises Forrester by revealing it's his birthday. For the first time since they became friends, Forrester talks about his family, how close he and his brother were until the World War changed his brother's personality. Forrester isn't from this city, but this is where he has many memories and where his family died. That night, Jamal inadvertently helps Forrester reconnect with his family memories from decades ago. On another day at school, Robert calls Jamal in. Robert suspects Jamal's rapid improvement is illogical, considering his background. Robert concludes that either Jamal is genuinely gifted or he is plagiarizing. Therefore, he orders Jamal to meet him again in 2 weeks and write directly in front of him. Jamal is upset and tells Forrester. Forrester says Robert simply can't understand why a black kid from a bad school could write so well, which is why Robert assumes Jamal can't write. Forrester tells Jamal to take the challenge. 2 weeks later, Jamal writes in front of Robert. Although Robert remains convinced Jamal is a plagiarist, Jamal still submits his work to the writing contest. In class, Robert is teaching a quote from a famous poet. Robert asks a distracted student to explain the poem he wrote on the board, embarrassing him severely. Jamal can't help but step in to assist his classmate. Robert taunts Jamal, saying his knowledge might be better than his basketball career. Hearing this, Jamal corrects a word Robert misused. When Robert challenges Jamal to continue quotes from a book, Jamal easily finishes them. Defeated by his own game, Robert orders Jamal to leave. Jamal is furious about being expelled for speaking the truth. Another day, Jamal is summoned by Robert, the headmaster, and Claire's father, the chairman of the school board. Jamal is again accused of plagiarizing his contest submission. This time, Robert claims to have proof. Robert shows a piece published in a 1960 magazine, the original work of William Forrester. Jamal's writing is original but shares the same title and similarity only in the first paragraph. Jamal is ordered to confess. He can't be honest because he promised Forrester he would never reveal his existence. Jamal is told to write an apology, otherwise, his scholarship will be revoked and he'll be banned from playing basketball. Before leaving, Robert states that this is his punishment for embarrassing him in class. Jamal tells Forrester about the incident. Forrester is shocked because nothing Jamal wrote in the apartment was supposed to leave. Jamal is also angry that Forrester never told him the title had already been published in a tabloid. Jamal asks Forrester to help explain to the school that the title usage was allowed by Forrester himself. Forrester refuses. They argue. Jamal is disappointed that Forrester won't help and is afraid to leave the apartment, but Forrester also has his own reasons. Soon, Jamal and his team face the tournament final. Claire's father, as the school board chairman, offers Jamal a deal. If Jamal can secure the championship trophy, he will help Jamal forget his problem with Robert. Jamal agrees. The final is tight, with both teams trading points. Jamal and John are key players. With seconds left, Jamal's team is down by 1 point. As time expires, Jamal is fouled and gets 2 free throws. Everyone is confident, knowing Jamal can hit 50 shots without fail, but the pressure is different that night. He misses both shots. Jamal fails to bring the championship trophy back to the school. Everyone is disappointed, including Forrester, who is watching from home. 4 months, Jamal was hailed as a talent, but that night he is seen as a loser. To clear his mind, Jamal goes to the public library and writes a letter to Forrester. When he returns home, his brother, Tyro, finds Jamal asleep and the letter on the table. Tyro delivers the letter to Forrester the next morning, saying Jamal wrote it after the game. Meanwhile, at school, Jamal attends the writing contest symposium, surprising Robert and his friends. Although eliminated, Jamal wants to see the other participants read their work, as Robert is scheduled to close the event. Unexpectedly, William Forrester arrives and asks to say a few words. Jamal is shocked and curious about Forrester's presence. At the podium, Forrester easily introduces himself as the famous writer, confirming his identity since his portrait is on the wall. He reads a piece he brought, and his charismatic delivery inspires everyone. After reading, Forrester steps down. Robert praises the reading as a stunning work with beautifully arranged words. Forrester immediately clarifies that he came for a friend who isn't allowed to speak, Jamal. Robert is startled to hear that Jamal is a friend of William Forrester. Jamal has proven his integrity by keeping Forrester's identity a secret, and Forrester confirms that the controversial writing was indeed Jamal's original work. But Robert still refuses to overturn his decision to disqualify Jamal. Forrester counters by declaring that the piece he just read was the letter written by Jamal. The headmaster immediately takes over and announces that the school will clear Jamal of the board hearing. Jamal walks out with his head held high. Afterward, Forrester tells Jamal that he has no more lessons to offer. Because of Jamal's letter, Forrester decides to leave his apartment and move to his homeland in Scotland. The two friends from different generations part ways, with Forrester leaving without a proper goodbye, as usual. A year passes. Jamal remains at school and receives many college scholarship offers. He is visited by an attorney representing William Forrester. After a year of silence, Forrester has died of cancer. The lawyer presents Jamal with Forrester's inheritance, the apartment key, and all the books inside. With this legacy, Jamal moves into the apartment with his mother and brother. The film concludes by showing a draft of the collaborative novel between the late William Forrester and Jamal. Sometimes in life, meeting another person can change us, even if we try to seal ourselves off completely. Regardless of age, life experience, or other factors, interaction with others will always influence our perspective on the world. If this unlikely friendship and life lesson inspired you, hit the like button. What did you learn from Jamal and Forrester's journey? Share your thoughts in the comments below, and don't forget to subscribe for more movie stories.